It's just crazy what's going on right now. The Bitcoin price is skyrocketing, and we have absolute Valhalla moves at the start. The US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve is now officially confirmed. In the last video where I did this, it was not yet officially confirmed, but Donald Trump now also says, in addition, I love Ethereum and Bitcoin, and also confirms the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Everything is really happening so quickly now, but it gets even better because there are now a lot of hot background information that we have to look at. Because David Sachs, the crypto czar, says that there's a lot more coming. And in 6 days, the crypto summit is happening. Here, the one released by the White House, where Donald Trump will also be giving a speech. And many are now assuming that this speech is going to drop an absolute bombshell. We're going to take a closer look at that as well. On top of that, things are happening now that you could have never dreamed of. Peter Schiff, the absolute Bitcoin critic, now says that Bitcoin is digital gold. He's basically recognizing Bitcoin as an international asset. So now we're even seeing all these Bitcoin critics suddenly switching over to Bitcoin because they're realizing, hey, crap, if a strategic Bitcoin reserve is coming, then Bitcoin is going to the moon. Bitcoin is absolutely going to skyrocket. And when he publishes and confirms this, you can imagine what's going to happen to the Bitcoin price. So what's happening now is we're just one tweet away. Nothing but a tweet, and the Bitcoin price just skyrockets by $10,000 in a single day.
By the way, greetings also go out to all the Peters who said a Valhalla candle would never come.
Now just imagine what's going to happen if this isn't just some tweet story. But if it's all official, Donald Trump steps up on stage and says, today, we announce the Bitcoin stockpile for the US. If that happens, then Bitcoin is going to shoot up even more like a rocket. And that could really kick off the nation-state FOMO. So in the last video, it was really funny. I posted the video, and then somehow 20 minutes after I published it, all of a sudden, Donald Trump said, hey, we actually have a strategy now, a reserve for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because at the beginning, it was just all those shitcoins. And in the end, it said, yeah, sure, here comes Ethereum and Bitcoin too. And here we need to take a look at something very exciting because there are some really interesting backgrounds happening here. And on top of that, we're seeing massive allegations of manipulation with some serious background information coming to light in the last minutes and hours. So it's really absolutely insane how things are escalating here. Well, it's always like that with Bitcoin. Nothing happens for a long time and then suddenly a lot happens all at once. And then sometimes you can't really keep track of what's going on at all. And when you make a video, after 20 minutes, that video is already outdated. And now let's take a look at the tweet from Donald Trump. So originally, there was the tweet where he said, yeah, we're creating a crypto reserve and it's going to include XRP, Solana, and ADA, and we're going to making the US the crypto capital. And then he says here, like 2 hours later, oh, by the way, Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be the centerpiece of the reserve. President Trump says, I also love Bitcoin and Ethereum. And now pay attention, he says here, it's going to be the centerpiece. So it's probably going to be, like I said in the last video, what makes the most sense is to have Bitcoin as the main allocation, like 80%, 90%. And then a few shitcoins on the side that make up like 10%, 20%, or something like that. That would make sense, but everything else would be just nonsense because at first it really looked like he was just creating a pure shitcoin reserve, but thankfully that's not the case. And hey, folks, something really massive is coming our way. So we have the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, the US really gearing up for Bitcoin, while Europe, the EU, is totally sleeping on this whole thing. So anyone who doesn't get on board with what's happening here, who doesn't jump in on this, is potentially going to end up massively horror, because they're just going to miss out on Bitcoin taking off. Great, we're already familiar with that, I'd say. So we can definitely count on that. I mean, Bitcoin will always prevail in the long run, but with stuff like this, it's going to happen even faster. I mean, there are still a few dangers that maybe it won't turn out to be as big as it's been labeled, because right now, nothing has really happened. Donald Trump could also, for example, go on stage now and say, hey, sorry, I changed my mind. I'm not going to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve after all. Then that would crash the market again. But we'll get to the manipulation allegations later, because there have been some shady things happening behind the scenes as well. Now we have David Sachs, the crypto guy here. He just tweeted something out, saying that President Trump has announced a strategic crypto reserve made up of Bitcoin and other key cryptocurrencies. This is in line with his Executive Order 14178. In the first week, President Trump is keeping his promise to make the US the crypto capital of the world. Now, pay attention. More information will follow at the summit. So more will be released here at the summit. And now it's the big event. We have 6 days left. And now everyone is eagerly anticipating the summit. What's going to happen here? So here are various CEOs, big personalities from the scene and so on. They will all be included in the summit. They will be visiting here. It will be about Bitcoin, about crypto, about the whole story probably, but also about stablecoins. And we have to look very closely now what could really be the bombshell announcements coming. Or it might end up being a nothing burger again. Feel free to let me know in the comments. Will it be a nothing burger, or are we really going to see some major events? And now here comes the real kicker in all of this, which means we need to look at this very closely. As of now, when I'm recording this video, they have bad news. So Wall Street hasn't opened yet while I'm recording this video. The major international exchanges haven't opened yet. That also means that the price rally we've seen going up has only happened because of retail investors, or by people who hold self-custody, those who hold Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin at 21 Bitcoin. Even if you want to do that, I'll put a link down below to 21 Bitcoin because you can easily, safely, and simply buy Bitcoin here at 21 Bitcoin since you can trade 24/7. And now something really crazy is happening. Anyone who has Bitcoin ETFs, anyone who officially has any papers on Wall Street or anything like that, all the big institutional players, they couldn't take this pump with them. That means everyone pretty much got left behind. And now something is happening tomorrow. Something exciting, or rather, if you're watching this video today. I believe Wall Street opens at 2:30 p.m. in the USA. And then we'll see if there are still massive inflows into the ETFs and whether Wall Street will be buying in big. This news again. Let's say it will be recorded because that is the advantage that everyone has now. And that's why I always say, if you have Bitcoin as a self-caster, you have your own hardware wallet. You have, let's say, an exchange where you can buy Bitcoin 24/7 and you're not dependent on ETFs or anything like that. If you also need a hardware wallet, I'll put a link below to a TREZOR hardware wallet, also a great device where you can easily manage your Bitcoin. Are protected from hackers, theft, and things like that, and also have 24/7 access to your Bitcoin, and that's the crazy thing, and Antonio Pompliano is also writing here, writing something very, very apt. It's objectively kind of funny that Trump announced a strategic crypto reserve, but Wall Street can't participate in it because of outdated trading hours. And that's just crazy. So, if you think about it, Larry Fink and all the pros, they couldn't ride this pump up because they're just too old. They have the infrastructure, but that's just it. The power and the transformation of Bitcoin. We now have 24/7 fuck you money that no one can censor. If we have it on our own hardware wallet, if we have it on an independent exchange that isn't connected to Wall Street or anything like that. And that's just crazy and shows that we're entering a turning point here. No more of those old school stories where you can only trade from Monday to Friday at certain times. And now things are really starting to happen here. And here things happen that I have never experienced in this format. I wouldn't have dreamed. Peter Schiff, who has been criticizing Bitcoin since it was around $10. It seems like he might have changed his mind here, or at least that's how we can interpret it. Some people do that. He says here, I understand the reasons for a Bitcoin reserve. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. We have a gold reserve. Bitcoin is digital gold that's better than analog gold. So let's create a Bitcoin reserve too. But what's the reason for an XRP reserve? Why the hell would we need that? Did you hear what's going on here? Peter Schiff, who has always been trashing Bitcoin, is saying here that Bitcoin is digital gold. And then it goes even further. He says it is better than analog gold. So he's basically admitting that Bitcoin is the future. And that's also what's going to happen, that a whole lot of capital from the gold market is going to flow into Bitcoin. And now the golds are apparently afraid that they will miss the train here. And that's always been the big debate, right? Okay, is Peter Schiff really a Bitcoin critic, or does he just want to push down the price and secretly buying Bitcoin? In any case, we don't know. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about seeing these big players shifting their opinions. Because Peter Schiff is someone who understands the current monetary system in detail. He understands that it's corrupt to the core. He understands how fiat money creation massively, rug pulled and robbed. And he's been betting on gold for years now. A lot of people have said he's just jealous because he missed the boat. And now he's basically making the statement that Bitcoin is digital gold and even better than gold. But he doesn't really understand all the shitcoin nonsense. So that adds a bit more flavor to the whole shitcoin story. But it looks like we just have to accept it. The XRP folks are really happy about this. So congrats to all the XRP folks. I always look at it a bit critically, but I'm open to debates on that too. So feel free to drop a comment if you see it differently or anything like that. Pierre Richard also had a really interesting point about this. Let me read to you what he tweeted about this. He says here, if every nation acquires a large Bitcoin position and a small basket of their own domestic local cryptocurrencies, then what's going to happen is that Bitcoin will automatically become the new world reserve currency. Only a few understand that. So, do you get what's going on here? If the US puts Bitcoin into its, let's say, strategic reserve and other nations do the same, and even if it's just in small parts, then Bitcoin becomes the new world reserve currency, because right now it's like this. A lot of people have the dollar, but I don't even think everyone does. Central banks around the world have a strategic dollar reserve. There are probably some that don't have it at all, who are even offloading dollars, and so on. But Bitcoin, even if it's just a tiny part, because all the central banks around the world are doing it, all the big players are doing it, this will become Bitcoin automatically. The world reserve currency, similar to Bitcoin payments. Some people say, okay, you can't pay anywhere with Bitcoin. Yeah, that's true, you can't really pay with Bitcoin on a large scale anywhere. But if we add up all the little places, since Bitcoin has the largest currency space, then Bitcoin is already the second most used currency. That means Bitcoin is used more than the euro because Bitcoin isn't just used in Europe, but worldwide. And yeah, there isn't really one like that location, except for a few hotspots like here in El Son. And so here, where I'm going to walk down again in a bit, here, you can pay for everything with Bitcoin, which you don't see much of. But there are a few hotspots like that. But because Bitcoin is basically global here, cool, when you see the hands here, you only see the shadows. So it's just mirrored here, you can kind of see. The sea isn't back there, it's up front. So because Bitcoin has such a large space here, it will automatically lead to that. And that's a very, very good observation from Piero Shah, that Bitcoin will become the world reserve currency here, even if central banks and big players are only starting to dip their toes in it. And now we also have allegations of fraud, because some really shady things have happened here. Let me show you this here. Here you can see the orders. And it says here, now we know who made this incredibly well-timed. Made a $4 million bet with 50 times leverage on Bitcoin and Ethereum, well played. Just like that, you can turn power and influence into money. The Bidens haven't played much compared to that. So there have been allegations of manipulation here, and that's something we need to understand. I had someone, he placed a bet with 50x leverage here, so he went long on Bitcoin with that 50x leverage. That means he didn't just use his own money, but also other people's money. And that led to him making massive gains here. I think you can see it a bit better in this tweet. Here, insider trading was announced with Trump's announcement of the crypto reserve. Here, yesterday, he made a true 50x long position. And with just $4 million, he built a $200 million position. So let that sink in. $4 million has turned into $200 million. In the meantime, he has closed most of his trades and made over $6.8 million in a single day. His timing was perfect. Downgraded to Trump social post that confirmed a US crypto reserve if the cryptocurrency even a. If it had dropped just a little bit, he would have been liquidated. You can see it. Here, he went long here. Ethereum is at $2,200. The liquidation would have been at $2,151 here. And with Bitcoin, it was at $85,900, and the liquidation was at $84,750. Now he has sent out $1 million profit. Coincidence, or something more? And that can't really be a coincidence. So you can tell me whatever you want here. But this is no coincidence. And the question is, who is this player? So Mike Alfred from the first tweet clearly said that Trump is behind this whole thing. I don't know if Trump is behind this whole thing because, I don't know. Trump has so much to lose if this comes out, especially with the whole USAID thing. You got to be a little careful yourself, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, don't mess around because you can't be on one side. The USAID story. I don't mean the USAID, I mean the whole Dodge thing. What am I even talking about here? You can't be on one side. You can't be all about the Dodge thing on one side and then pull this kind of crap on the other. So you really have to be a bit careful. I don't know if it was Trump, but I could imagine it was someone who knew about this. Let's say someone like David Sachs or something, just as an example. And then maybe he passed it on to someone else. And then that person would execute the order. So normally, you don't do insider trading yourself. You pass the information on to someone else who's not directly involved. And then that person makes the trade for you. There's also an exciting video coming out soon about Nancy Pelosi. There were some really, really interesting revelations on Joe Rogan, where Nancy Pelosi was taken apart, showing how she systematically built up these kinds of insider deals over the years. And now we also have this insider deal here with the Trump Mafia, or I don't know if it's the Trump Mafia or if it's someone else. So I'm leaning more towards someone else. Let me know in the comments what you think. Who's behind this? For sure. Let me know how things are going for you all. The mood is currently, are you bullish? Do you think everything is going to get sold off again? Or how's the situation looking for you all? Absolutely crazy what's going on here, and I can't really say more about that. Guys, see you later. Peace out.